everything. Shannon had a very fun weekend. Veronica had a kind of fun weekend. So today we're going to be going over anti-seizure drugs. Make note that these used to be called anti-epileptic drugs. However, we now call them anti-seizure drugs because we know they're not just for people with epilepsy, they're for all kinds of seizures, epileptic and non-epileptic alike. You'll also hear them called anticonvulsant medications, so just know all three titles are completely synonymous. As a whole with this category, one thing to keep in mind is that they can cause decreased bone density. So with elderly patients, you have to keep kind of that in mind. So if someone's on an anti-seizure med for a long time, you might want to consider doing a DEXA scan. And another thing with people with seizures, you got to be careful with estrogen too. So just make sure you keep in mind what kind of birth control woman is on when you're putting them on these meds as well, because there can be interactions there. And then in terms of metabolism, I didn't write that one here, but a couple of these drugs are inducers, and then valproic acid is the only inhibitor. So just remember if you remember from our last video, the valproic vampire is inhibited, and then the inducers, I should have starred them, but I believe it's phenytoin, and that might be it for, and then actually lamictal and tegretol. So just kind of know the other ones are inducers, but if the question asks, the only one that inhibits is valproic. So to start with, we have some that are hepatically dosed and some that are renally dosed. So the first ones you see up here are all hepatic, and then the last four at the bottom are renal dosed. So it's a very important thing to remember. I feel like we're always tested on that. So to start with phenytoin or Dilantin, this is an older drug. It's not used that much anymore. The reason for that is because it has weird drug kinetics. So I didn't write it here, but basically when you do a small dose increase in the drug, you get a very large increase in serum drug concentration. So just think phenytoin, not really used, old drug, really weird kinetics. It's also pretty sedative, so you keep that in mind. And then when we're monitoring for phenytoin, we're going to watch for CBC and CMP. The reason for that is because we need liver functions as well as albumin. So you have to be very careful in elderly, possibly hypoalbumin malnourished patients, because there's an interesting interaction with albumin and phenytoin. So you have to adjust the dose of phenytoin based on someone's albumin level. So just remember phenytoin, albumin, very, very important. The next drug we have here is Valproate, or Depakote is the brand name. This is a seizure drug. We also use it for headaches in primary care, so that's a double dip drug. Main thing about that is hepatotoxic. If you remember valproic vampire, he has the large liver. And then if you remember from the vampire, there's also alopecia, the vampire's bald, and thrombocytopenia, fine tantrum, or a couple other things, but not quite as important, just hepatotoxicity. So the next two drugs we have here are very similar, carbamazepine and oxycarbamazepine, tegretol and trileptal. One important thing to note is oxycarbamazepine, it's just a tiny bit different, but as soon as the body starts to metabolize the drug, it pulls off the oxy group and immediately changes the drug to carbamazepine, so essentially the same drug. Tegretol, the carbamazepine side effects, it's going to be hematologic problems, agranulocytosis, that kind of thing. So remember, tegretol tiger is bleeding, and then we also use this for bipolar, the rapid cycling titer. Trileptal, two things to watch out for, rash, also with tegretol, and then low sodium, that's a big thing with this one. So I don't really have a good way to remember this, I just remember OxyClean. You clean up your salt and then you have low sodium. So it's like the worst way, but kind of just a good thing to know, low sodium oxycarbamazepine. The next drug, lamotrigine, lamictal LAMA. Remember, LAMA has Stevens-Johnson syndrome. So moving on, these are kind of the newer drugs we learned, newer for our course. So we have levetiracetam, Keppra, you've probably heard of this one. I like to remember Keppra crazy, it can cause behavioral problems. So if someone already has baseline behavioral problems, you might not want to put them on Keppra. And the other thing is that Keppra has a very slow dose escalation. So I remember Keppra crazy, and then Keppra keep going up. So some of these seizure meds, like Depakote, you can put the patient on it in like 12 hours, they'll be good at their therapeutic dose, therapeutic level. But with Keppra, it's going to take quite a while, and you just keep drawing levels for the patient to get up to that level. So just something to keep in mind. The next drug we have is topiramate, Topamax. This one isn't actually a great drug for seizures. We generally kind of use it more for headache and then for weight loss, Qsima. So know that it's anticonvulsant, but it's really not used for that. And the side effect is brain fog. So remember Topamax, Dopamax, it makes your patients really dopey. People describe it, they just feel really stupid. So if your patient has a job or likes to think and use their brain, probably don't put them on Topamax. snacks or give them very big warning, like you'll be skinny but you'll be stupid. And then the next two drugs are very similar, gabapentin and pregabalin. Pregabalin is Lyrica. So gabapentin, neurotonin, and Lyrica, these both work on calcium, whereas the rest of these drugs work on more GABA and sodium, so just kind of remember that mechanism. And then know that they are also sedative. So we have Dilantin and the gabapentin, pregabalin all can sedate your patient. So the actually street value for gabapentin has been going up recently because of that fact. So once again, these are anti-seizure, anti-convulsant drugs. Remember, they can affect patients' bone density. You have to be careful in elderly patients, especially with the hypoalbumin and phenytoin. And then just know that we have the 4 renally dosed and the rest are hepatically dosed. Thank you.